Start off, I'd like to do a small exercise with all of you. If you'd like, you can put your hand on your heart. I'd like us to start off by focusing all of our attention, all of our energy down to our hearts. Feel your heartbeat. So taking deep and rhythmic breaths as if you are breathing through your heart.
6 seconds in, and 6 seconds out. Keep it going. Now I invite you to bring up a moment of appreciation for something sexual or sensual that's happened to you in the past. Just a deep moment of appreciation for one single moment, and be there right now. And whenever you're ready, you can take your hand off your heart and slowly open your eyes. Thank you all for trying out this exercise with me. This is something called heart-brain coherence. And something that's interesting about sex and relationships is that a lot of times these things that make sensuality and connection and intimacy so important, it happens well before you go to bed with someone. And a lot of times in life, we get into rote, mechanical, memorized activities with ourselves. And when we get stressed, when we get outside of our control with ourselves, we take that to the other people that are in our lives too. So one thing that you can do is a tool that I've just shared with you called heart-brain coherence. And what I hope to do in this talk is to show you both A, what is the science behind heart-brain coherence and why it's so important, and B, just to give you an opportunity to do it yourself at any point in your life after this event happens. So let's just start off with a little bit of the fun science behind why heart-brain coherence is so beautiful. So one thing that a lot of people don't know about the heart and the brain, I mean, we know there's electric current going through the neurons firing in our heads, and there's electric currents going through our hearts. But for the ones in our brain, they produce a magnetic field, and same with our hearts. But the magnetic field that's given through our brain goes out about 6 inches or so in front of us. But if you look at the magnetic field that's brought up by your brain, it goes 6 feet out in front of you. So if you ever said to someone, I'm vibing with you, that I feel connected with you, a lot of times you're feeling their heart energy or their heart's magnetic field and not the brain's. Isn't that something? So in order to be able to have connection with someone else or to have that intimacy, sometimes we need to make sure that we go into heart-brain coherence first, which is just 3 simple steps. It's heart focus, heart breathing, and heart feeling of appreciation. That's it. It's a very, very simple process. And with our hearts, when we're stressed, when life's not going as hot, right? Sometimes that happens to us. And this is one way to get our heart into a good space first. And when your heart's aligned, your brain follows a lot faster. Because we know we can logic through anything if we're given enough time for it. But if you don't have enough time to it, or you want to shortcut the process just a little bit before you go into, let's say, going back to your partner, to the person that you love, or just someone you're going on a date with, and you're nervous, you're stressed, or you're bringing other things into your life, just remember to take a breath, do heart-brain coherence, and then you'll be in your best state of mind. Because a lot of times we go into our amygdala, which is the reptilian part of our brain, which is all in fight or flight mode. And we don't realize how often we go into that state of mind. So if we can use our heart as a way to help control our brain, how to put it into the right state, then it'll allow us to go into our prefrontal cortex, our high state of consciousness, and truly have that deep, intimate, sensual, fun, sexy experience with the people that we want to be connected to. So if everyone could do this with me so they can remember this is the challenge I have for all of you, is that anytime you're going into a thing where you're nervous or you're stressed or you've had a bad day and you want to be intimate with someone you care about, just do these 3 steps. So with me, and repeat after me. heart focus, heart breathing, heart feeling of appreciation. Let's do it one more time. Heart focus, heart breathing, heart feeling of appreciation. There you go. Thank you for your time. And happy to answer any questions now, I believe, for 5 minutes. You might have a question up there. It's all right. Sexy mistakes happen in events.
How do you create emotional connection with another person as part of your sex life?
I like that. So I'm going to use this in the context of heart-brain coherence as well, just to make sure that it all ties together. But I think that what I showed you tonight, there's actually 2 steps to it. One is heart-brain coherence, and the other is about understanding the connection of feelings and needs to each other. Because a lot of times we talk about emotions saying we're stressed, we're angry, we're excited, we're happy, but we don't realize that there's usually rather a met or unmet need underlying that emotion. So if you want to become more connected with someone else, sometimes if you're feeling an emotion from someone, you have to think through what's the need that you're meeting for that person, the unmet need. Is it a need to matter? Is it a need to be heard, to be seen? And even more than that is to verbalize it to them, saying, I feel like you have a need to be seen right now, is that right? And that if you can help meet that need more so and communicate that fully, then I promise you, you'll start having better, more connected, sensual sex too.
We know, like, to fully trust the person, like, give up our trust.
Trust is a very big thing, and it takes a long time to produce, and it can be taken away in a moment.
Say hi, say hi.
Hello. I'm good. How are you? Do you have a question about sex?
Yeah.
Sorry. Whole life. We're talking about trust. We're talking about sex right now, and the guy that's up in the window over here is asking a question, and we have one right here. So I'm going to try to connect the 2 questions together, hopefully. And in order to gain trust with someone, you need to acknowledge them. You need to have emotional support in some way to say that I see you, sir. I acknowledge you. Thank you for your time and bringing yourself into this event. It's always fun to have the spontaneity of new people coming in. And to your point, I think that sometimes you just need to be able to take a leap. And I think that there's not always a way to know for sure, because there's always things that come up that you could never expect, no matter how much you plan, no matter how much pre-trust you built into it or communication you've had. But it's saying that if any of those things do come up, that you can set the emotional safety to say, if this comes up or you're feeling uncomfortable at any point, that it's okay. We can stop at any moment. We can meet your needs whatever way it needs to happen. And that it's just that trust that you're going to be able to communicate through it no matter what happens. And if you do feel that fight or flight response coming at any point in time, I mean, if you want to do heartbreak coherence, of course, that's a little bit trickier to do when you're with someone and it's a little more sexual, right, before. But the easiest version of that is just to be able to breathe through it too. It's simply always returning back to our breath. Like, we can survive days without water, we can survive weeks without food, but we can only survive a few minutes without our breath. And oftentimes I feel like we forget about something as simple as breathing when we go into our fight or flight response. So the more we can return to our breath and make sure we communicate to that person that it's okay to stop at any point in time before that, that I think that it'll help at least for any unexpected things that can come up when you want to still have that trust for the person. I hope that answered your question too. So thank you for the question. So let's take an example of someone who's had a childhood trauma of a dog biting them on the street. So they see a German Shepherd on the side of the street. When they were 7 years old, they got bit by this German Shepherd. And whenever they see that German Shepherd in real life, even if the German Shepherd is trained, even if you're in a good state of mind, you still might get triggered by that same dog. So for us, I mean, the reason why our amygdala exists is because we need to survive. There's fight or flight response. So it doesn't matter how, It doesn't matter if we can logic our way out of it. That automatic programming is going to kick in. Almost that system 1 program is going to kick in no matter what every time you see that dog. So the only ways to be able to work through that so that you can actually turn that part of your brain off in the amygdala so it can then go to prefrontal cortex and allow your kind of highest state of mind to be able to activate and be used without the amygdala firing in the same way. You need to be able to take over your parasympathetic nervous system to do so. And one way to just control your parasympathetic nervous system is to control your breath. And with the heart rate variability, like it's not about how fast your heart is going. You could have a very slow heart rate, you could be having an extremely fast heart rate in a race, let's say, and you can still be in coherence. It's about how fast does that heart rate switch. Because if you go from 40 beats per minute to 70 beats per minute, it's going in between with jagged lines, that's when you go into your amygdala and you're in fight or flight response. So if you can keep that nice and rhythmic pattern by anchoring memories such as deep moments of appreciation from a time in your past, it's just a way to almost shortcut it to be able to get there faster.
Like, is there a type of therapy for that?
I think there are many types of therapy, and there's many types of tools that work for different people in different ways. I think the one that I found most useful or successful is always just going back to the heart-brain coherence, though. Because even if you realize you're going into fight or flight response, the first thing is say, I'm acknowledging that my heart rate is faster right now, and that I'm not okay. And then once you acknowledge that you're not okay, it's saying that, okay, the one thing that I can control right now is my breathing. That even if my head's going crazy or if I don't feel like I'm about to be in control, it's saying the one thing I can control is my breath, taking deep and rhythmic breaths, 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And I think there are ways to practice this before these things happen too, to be more proactive about it. But if you're in that moment, I think that going back to that, trying to anchor that good memory right away, that can help you get into a good state. Or even one thing I've done honestly before in previous relationships where I'm with a significant other, we're having a fight, and I realize I'm getting a fight or flight response and I'm not having a productive conversation with her. I said, could you please give me just 20 seconds? I promise, and then we need to go back to fighting, that's okay, but I just need 20 seconds, right? And in that time, I just watch my breathing, I control it, and then I ask myself a question, which is, do I want to hold on to this emotion right now? It's like, I let it go for 10 seconds. I say, if you want it back in 10 seconds, like, okay, take the anger back, that's fine. You can use it. Sometimes it's needed, but that's another conversation. And he's even laughing too, right? There's that trust and connection up there.
Yeah.
Well, slow it down, would you give it a rest? Covered in clouds of your regret. Why beat yourself up if you'll do it